Hello and welcome to the Sunday Factorio stream. And also the final, well, what I'm going to be calling final gameplay stream for the Factorio Megabase. Yeah, I think that's a good description. Basically, this is the final stream where I will be doing anything live on stream, gameplay wise. Whether or not I get to the point that I'm happy that the Megabase is megabasing is I'm unsure of. There are some. It's already running because we're getting to a stage. I think it might be the mod, the byte to deletion mod, that it takes ages to load up. So I've already loaded it up. I'm already running. I've had it paused, so it's not just sort of got away with me. So a couple of things. So yesterday evening and this morning, I was fiddling around. What I'd expected to happen. Oh, I should say. I mean, I'm Trismegistus. If you're watching this for the first time, and this is obviously Factorio. It is a Megabase made predominantly without any mods. I did use creative mode for designing stuff. I also, yesterday, this is what I was going to explain. I also loaded up the game. Actually, if I turn the sound back up, I tend to have the settings sounds down. No, I didn't. There we go. That's why it's so quiet. When it's just chugging away, I turn the volume off. So it doesn't. It's just, not really audible. But yeah, so yesterday I fired up creative mode. Now, I made a mistake with that. I'll explain in a minute. But I fired up creative mode and added on even more solar panels. At the end of the stream yesterday, I tried to turn the Megabase on, and it didn't really work. Now, it didn't really work because the power was not sufficient. And I wasn't at all sure whether we were a long way off or a short way off of the power working. It turned out we were a long way off. So basically, what I was doing was I was hand feeding. And it's one of the things we've got to do, actually. To get rid of them. I was hand feeding fuel into the nuclear reactors to see how many it would take, how much extra power I would need. Now, I can't really show you on the graph, unfortunately. I wish you could. There might be a mod or something you could do it. But these chunks it gives you are a bit sort of useless. I'd quite like to be able to define a start and end point for the for the graph and show a period of it. So basically, you see, this is where I kind of switched it on. Sorry, this is where I was hand feeding in power. I don't know if you can sort of see the green line there. It's probably quite small. This is where I was hand feeding in, fuel rods into the accumulators, into the reactors to see how much I needed. And as you can see, it's going up and up and up here. And basically, it was apparent that so the total amount of nuclear power I've got will generate about 15 gigawatts, something like that. And I had all of them going. All of them going, all of them going. So basically, it was about half of all of my nuclear reactors to make the base run, which is therefore about 8 gigawatts, which is a lot of power. And so all I did last night, as I say, and yesterday, this morning, was I fired up creative mode and just stuck them in because I don't have the ability to make solar panels that quickly. It's one of the failings, it's one of my lessons learned. I should have a solar panel accumulator factory. But every time I've sort of got to a point where I think that's enough power. So it's a bit like, one of the things I've really learned from this is the sort of cost benefit side of it. So it takes you maybe, 3 hours to set up a good factory with, solar panel factory or something with, resources coming in and all that sort of stuff. And that's quite a long, it's quite a long time to set up a big factory like that. Plus, you've got to make all the stuff you need for it, and as I say, get the resources and all this sort of stuff. So I was never sure at what point it was better to transition to making one of those, rather than just have my base making it. Because a lot of the time I was just able to leave it running and it would make all the stuff. But now that I've made, and I was able to do other things, but now that everything is built, this, I mean, the big chunk here, the middle section, you know, that was just left to run overnight and it filled it all in. So, you know, this is about the same size again, and I didn't have 8 hours to leave it running. That wasn't going to be practical for this stream. And all it was is just leaving it running. Or, as I say, I didn't really have the patience to spend X hours building a solar panel factory now, given it's just the end game. So, say I fired up creative mode and just spam them in manually, and it does run it. So it's now producing. We now have, and you know you would expect so. Given I had 1 million solar panels yesterday, and I've now got 1.2 million solar panels, you know, that's a huge. I've just slapped in loads and loads and loads, basically. So we're now generating. Peak solar is 74. So if we do the 70% of that is what? About 50 odd, I think. And as you can, well, I think I might be able to show you. So this was me testing it this morning, I guess. It's probably that there. But you can see it on the product, or you could see it on the production graph. If we do science. Right. So this was the attempt yesterday to make science and it falling over. In fact, actually, if I turn that off, it might be. We do. No, if we do it in the power, I did see quite a good graph that sort of demonstrated. Here we go. So this was us turning it on yesterday, and you can see the dips. The dip, because this is the assemblers, which are about, with all of them running, it's about 11 gigawatt. But you can see those dips are where we browned out. So as you can see there, it sort of, you know, kept happening. And then this is this morning. Now this is what we got fixed. There are some problems in the base, and that's what we'll do first in this, you know, today. And once I've done all of those, we'll turn it on again. And if it still doesn't quite work, you know, we'll see if we can fix it. But if not, I might do some tweaks during the week. But if not, we'll kind of say, you know, I can't make a Megabase. I'm sure it won't be quite that bad. But yeah, so this is this morning where it's all, you know, there's none of this dropping out power and all that sort of stuff. It was just running. What am I doing? There we go. Yeah, so, you know, you can kind of tell that there is enough power now. As I say, I've put in, there's actually way more than I need, and it actually does. It plateaus for like a third of the day, even when everything's running. We're over here because the last thing I did was fix a massive train jam. So basically, I was saying this yesterday, the train system isn't actually able to cope with 484 trains. I never redesigned it properly. And this junction was here. And what happened, as you would probably expect, is 2 trains were trying to cross over. One to go that, you know, along this one to go up here, and they blocked each other. And so the entire grey and blue science had got stuck and just stopped. And that's where that, you know, that assembly line graph coming down, that's because it all run out of materials. So I moved this back, and there is now, I've signalled this such that a train nicely fits in, you know, a 484 nicely fits in there. Also, if it happens again, we have another problem, we'll just ignore military science. I've no problem with that. It's also, I mean, there are some problematic things here anyway. The whole coal thing I sort of sorted out, but it's still a mess. It really needs 2 stations, but can't really fit them in very well. But we can fix these balances. That was another issue. It caused it to tail off. Again, balance here. These are all sort of makeup problems from where I never really changed them once I downloaded that set of balancers. I'd already had that one for a while, but I should have fixed this, because what happens is like one lane on each side is saturated and the rest is empty, because it's just an inappropriate balancer for what it's doing. So it's things like that we've got to go and fix. I did the train. In fact, let's take some of these out. So there was this broken train here that didn't have one of its locomotives. So I fixed that one. We've done that one. So we've done this traffic jam, but obviously I know to come and look here if there are any problems. What else we got? So yeah, we need to fix the rods issue. This is a big one. That may take some puzzling. We can only really do it when it's running though, so we'll save that for once we've fixed some of the other ones. So still got issues with green circuits. Think I've worked out a possible fix for them. But that's also why, I mean, there's also an issue with plastic. So this was running only about, you see, if it ends up running, because it was over 4,000. So my goal, ceiling or sort of bottom floor goal of about 4,000 science per minute, I was achieving, even with, I mean, not when the traffic jam happened, but even with these problems. So that's why I'm going to end the series here, basically, because I am happy with that. Over here, I did a little fiddling about, but then eventually realised it was better just to make these 10 beacons. So I've taken out basically 2 beacons this row of beacons basically, and that then gives me a set of machines that are all running at the same boosted speed. It still does the thing where it drops. I do not understand that at all, because you watch the machines and they run fine with the number of beakers in them, but the graph reports a dip of productivity. So we'll just have to look at the long-term graph. I really have no idea what's going on there, because none of the labs stop, but it looks like they stop on the graph. So I don't understand that at all. What was the other thing? Oh, yes, so I also fixed this. So this is now 2 copper stations with proper copper coming in. Obviously, I've deleted the biters. I said that. Did I show that yesterday? No, I don't think I did. So it's just a mod called Biters Be Gone that you turn on, and it just literally deletes every single biter. So there are no more biters. So we can get rid of artillery and all that sort of stuff as well if we have UPS problems. But with the biters gone, we sort of gained about 5 UPS, so it becomes viable to, even though it's terrible, it's still viable to sort of play it. But yeah, I can get rid of the artillery and stuff like that. It costs power, it costs UPS and stuff like that. But basically, we've got this here. So, I've taken out these lasers and just sent the copper going here. If we get to an issue where these can't keep up with the demand, then I'm not going to put any more in. We'll just call that, failure. Put that in the W column. I think, so I can get rid of that one. I think I finally solved these out. So there wasn't quite enough stuff getting through. This is like designed so that it saturates one side of the belt and therefore always runs. And it can't quite keep up, this machine, but it doesn't need to because this is too much production. But it was stuttering, basically. They're both stuttering. So it was basically a case of more inserters. So hopefully that's done. That's what we can. I think, if we counter that, we'll fix that. So yeah, we need to get rid of them. Oh, the belts that were all polluted, I fixed that. It was basically, there was an underground and an inserter there, basically. These aren't running, the top machines never run, basically. This error I made of having 3 rather than 2 essentially means that a lot of it's pointless, because these machines can't. This compresses down so much that the amount that the back machines are putting onto the belts fills the belt because of the back pressure. But then the problem there, the sort of irony there is when it gets to the actual feed-in, these starve because I'm dividing it up by too much. So I've got a weird problem where basically I've got more production than I need and I'm not moving the material out. But then on the demand side, I've got more demand than I'm moving. So it's really a transportation issue. We should have more belts here if I keep all of these or delete one of these, basically. That's the sort of issue. But I'm not going to do that, basically. We'll just call that a a problem. And this was designed to be at 6,000 sites per minute anyway, so it doesn't make a lot of difference. Though however, I did have a problem with the satellite, where basically, and I've had all sorts of problems. This was after the massive train jam during the week. Basically, this one in particular seems to have been really messed up, and a lot of the trains were out of position, and so they weren't actually moving. Or they ended up blocking things or whatever. So hopefully it's now fixed and working. But basically, there was a train from over here. I'd obviously sent it over there to get it out of the way, but it was up in this train system here, and it obviously couldn't get anywhere because it was just stuck. I'd obviously just moved it out of the way to clear up the track and forgotten about it and left it there. So satellites just stopped, and so rockets just stopped and blah blah blah. But hopefully that's all sorted out now. I went round and properly checked; it was all running. But I'd also misnamed these two, so I'd got the names the wrong way around. So I had a whole load of trains sat here trying to get copper, and here trying to get iron plates. So I fixed that. But I say this is the sort of thing I really enjoy in Factorio. I really enjoy it, but I've been playing for so long, and it's been such a stressful in a way series, such a lot of hard work and time spent, that I've kind of had enough now, and I just want to move on. So I don't think I would ever, and there might be a possibility in a month or something of picking it back up and tweaking it, but I say I would rather do another attempt and sort of do it better to start with. So all of these are now straight junctions, and all of the artillery and supply trains here are dead. In fact, I've cut the lines basically. So these are just now straight junctions. I did leave the trains in the signals in just in case. But the trains just blast up and down here, so there's no bottlenecking going on for any of them. What else did I do? Well, we could move. We could actually start. So if I start heading over here, while it was running, I did sort of check to see whether anyone came over here, and they didn't. So this whole notion of going long distance is probably only viable if you make everything go long distance, or you limit it in such a way that it can only go long distance. So if none of this was here, then obviously they would come up here. And although it's a long way, they're such fast trains that it should be okay. But yeah, they never use any of this, because by the time, say this, for example, if they're after, what's over here? Stone brick. So if they're after stone brick, there's sufficient stations here that. So you've got a stone brick there, 2 there. Isn't there another one? There's another one. Is it up here or something? I can't remember, but there's 3 stations for stone brick, and only a couple of I think there's one. There's one place loading stone brick. So by the time if and these they stack up. Where is stone brick? Okay, so it stacks up like 3 stations worth. There you go. So even though this is only sort of trickling in fact, that's really quite slow. I don't know why that's so slow. I guess it's a different ratio, isn't it, for stone? But it's got 3 trains worth of stuff here, and then there's another entire set of 3 there, and wherever the other. Here we go. So, and then this has got 3 trains worth, 4 trains worth. So it doesn't kind of need to go out here, and the calculation, to go out there would have to be quite extreme, as in literally all of the stations were empty, and with nothing in them for it to even consider going out here. And until I block these off, looks like we've arrived. Until I block these off, they would obviously make the decision to go up to here. I think, because I think there's a stone brick up here, even though it doesn't need to. But, right, so here we are. We are at the thing. And what I basically just need to do... Ooh, some legs on, have I? Oh, no. Oh, is that a... So, when I put on that... This is the other reason I'm going to... I messed up the creative mod. Because what you have in creative is, you know, like cheaty things, basically. And some of them when you're... So it like asking you at the beginning whether you want to switch them on, but it does it generically. It just says switch on cheats, and I just switched them on. But then it applies that to the entire game. So when you disable cheat mode, in fact, why is it so far? But it changes some of the basics about the character and stuff. So I'm blasting along here because that's something creative mode does. And when you enable the cheats, it does it. And it obviously sets it in the file. So even though when you disable cheat mode, creative mode, some of the things remain. And that's obviously one of them. So I'm super fast, even though I've not got any legs on. I don't suppose it will do a... Well, there you go. Look, absolutely bonkers speed, like in creative mode. But there's no, I can't set anything to turn it off. You can probably actually set your walk speed or something in the cheat, but so that's the other reason I'm going to do it, because my intention was just to spam in the things, and you have to turn cheats on to do that because that's free material and stuff like that. But I forgot that it turns on everything if you just enable that, because what it meant that you go in and individually do things. That's what I should have done, but I didn't. And after I'd done all that and then turned them off again, I realised it had made some permanent changes. The other one is the researches. So where I was going to blast through, the first 7 of these, I'd done none of these, but we're now up to 8 because it unlocks all of the non-infinite researches. So all of these are the same because that's where we were. But this one, it's already unlocked up to 7. Now, as you can see, the cost of it is tiny, and we'll do that in less than a minute, any sort of thing. Is that tiny? No, it's yes, 1100. So we'll blast through it anyway, sort of thing, and when we turn it all on. But say I've it's gone basically, and I'm sure there's a way you can reset it, but I'm not that familiar with that side of it. So so that's the other reason I'm not going to continue this, because the cheats that I did have carried over, and I don't want them to. Right, yes, so what we need to do, basically... Yeah, it is. So, then the other things it does is it makes this just super delete, as it were, so it just kills everything off. But, as you see, I have turned the creative mode off. Right, what we'll actually do, if I just stick a bunch of stuff in... It'll help when the game's running. I mean, the advantage of it is when we are doing the tests, when we switch it on, basically I won't be as affected by the slowdown. So, it will be useful there. But say I didn't really want to apply the cheat, have the cheats running in this stream, because say I literally just wanted to have them, spam the solar panels in. Because the justification, if I was continuing the series, I would take it, I would basically build those solar panels and then just blow them up. So, the material cost in terms of these outposts, so it would get drawn. Because we're at a state, this copper's all completely gone, and we've also got loads left, but there's still some there, actually. But yeah, so, if I needed to add more of these, then I would have done that, But I've rendered that sort of a bit of a moot point, really. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we need a 7. And we need a 5 to 7 balancer then. So we'll go 7. I mean, I'm not, just to make it clear, I'm not against using creative. Can I flip that over? Hopefully that'll continue to work. I'm not against anyone playing a game in any way they wanted. It was just... So the intention of this series was to kind of be... In terms of the actual building of the Megabase, it's kind of to not use cheats. But yeah, you know, it is what it is, really. You know, I never anticipated having to make 1.2 million solar panels. You know, just say I have no problem with anyone using creative mode and playing that way entirely, or whatever. You know, play the game the way you want, sort of thing. But now, what should have happened is these should be, you know, I should be able to just stick them in here, basically, because I should have drawn them. Because I basically filled all of the... Because what I was checking for, the reason I did stuck them all in, these are all full, basically. And I was checking for any kind of imbalances in terms of unloading and loading. Because, say, the fact I've used this balancer inappropriately has caused a few problems, I think. So, can I grab all of that? Just check. Okay, so there was obviously some belt. I wonder where it's taken those then. Maybe there are some construction bots somewhere around here and they've grabbed it. In fact, I know there are because there were when I was doing the thing. But we're not getting any warnings around. Can't put anything in. So that's that one done. Now, are there any other balances I need to fiddle with? So that's that one there. Really, this should be balanced, but this is massively overproduced, so it was running fine. So hopefully that one will be okay. I've already fixed that. I fixed that a while ago. The actual load-in proper balancers. What I've done here, basically, so really this should be 2 stations. Because the amount of coal needed is quite a lot. And what will happen is that when we're running it, is eventually we'll run out of trains. So it will start pulling too much material. It pulls too much material, the number of trains and speed of trains, etc, etc. We could add one more, but it's not actually going to make enough difference to cover that. And basically what happens is, you know, eventually all of these chests will be empty. Will empty. And then it'll do the lag thing. So it'll work while there is material and then turn off and work while there's material. That basically. And you'll get an average of about, I think it was about 3,500 it was doing when it all ran out before. But, you know, I'm not that fussed about military. We'll give it a go, but it may not work. But hopefully that'll sort that out. This was an issue of distribution, basically. So these ones at the back here had more than enough stuff, and these ones didn't, and it's because I was using a cascade balancer rather than actually balancing it. Right, so we'll hopefully solve that. Yeah. So let's hop in. You see, I mean, I'm way faster than the Spidertron, and that's because it doesn't do... I bet you can set it, but it doesn't do cheats. You know, speed cheats for the Spidertron. Still, yeah, it's still live. Bit went bit rate went a bit nuts for some reason. Right, yes, so we'll fix these balancers first. And this, again, is an issue of... I used the 10 balancer just because that's the only one I downloaded. And then afterwards I downloaded a book, you know, a book of other balancers. This one by Durabes. And, you know, I didn't come and replace these. So what we need to do here... I mean, there's 2 options, actually. I mean, the reason I'm using the 10 by 10... it's weird. I say it's weird that because... I haven't got any legs on. The reason I use the 10 to 10 is because there's like, is it 9 outputs here? Yes, there's 9 outputs. So, you know, I didn't. This book, stops at 8 to 8. Let's see if it stops at 8 to 8. So I didn't have any 9 balancers. But what we can do, basically, is use 2. Well, we've got several options, actually. We're ending up with 6 lanes, you see. So we can effectively use, and this is what I figured out elsewhere, but we can effectively use balancers as like compressors. Stuff, so I've got. Okay. You're going to fill up with plastic now, aren't you? Yeah, but we can take the 9 and compress it down into two 3s by, you know, effectively splitting it in half, so we can have, you know, like a 5 to 3 and a 4 to 3, or maybe we put a splitter on, have 2 5 to 3s. I bet those have been assigned to some other construction bots. Yeah, piddly bob. Okay, let's have a chest of. Plastic's a little bit more of a pain. I might just leave it in this chest here because I'd have to actually feed it back into these guys, or put it on some, you know, put a chest and unload it, and I don't think I can be bothered. It's, you know, a tiny amount of plastic in the grand scheme of things, and I'm making this plastic from oil, so. Not really losing a great deal. Let's do another one. So I'll probably just leave the plastic here, basically. I mean, the other thing, I haven't been doing like lane balancers, which is unlike me. I think when I was doing these, I was sort of in a mind frame of it won't take that long to do the Megabase, because this is literally months ago. I built this. Now what we'll do, I think, is if we split, so 1, 2, 3, 4, so if we do a splitter on like that, and then we want 2 5 to 3s, basically. So there we go. Space, so we can belts around. If we run out of stuff, I can just summon up the other spiders. They've all just been sat there for a while. So they're all filled up. Let's grab that again. Let's put it in line at least. Let's be tidy. Yeah, I'd be a lot more sort of, how to put it, interested in kind of making everything proper. If we were a lot earlier in the series, the whole decision to do outposting was just completely wrong, basically. So now what we do is 6 to 6 balance this, you see. So effectively we're using these as compressors and turning this into 6 lanes stuff, and then we balance the 6 lanes so that if we get any issues with production across, you know, any of the. Oh, I guess it's not got splitters. You know, say for example these stop producing properly because, you know, the coal's not quite getting to them, or something like that, you know. Then at least we're balancing across all sides, as it were. And it's a bit like that thing of, you know, how much change do you need in your pocket, you know, to be able to guarantee that you can give, you know, pay for anything without having to need change, if you see what I mean. So You know, do you actually need? I keep thinking that balance splitters are there. You know, do you need, you know, a 1p, a 2p, a 5p, a 10p? This obviously British denominations. You know, 20p, a 50p, when actually you can use, you know, other denominations to achieve the same numbers, as it were. Can you carry two 1 pennies and that covers all the eventualities? It's one of those logic problems. But it means that with the, you know, that set of balancers, you can actually construct any set of, you know, combination to infinity. So, you know, I could have 50 machines, and we use the compression to bring it down to, say, do an 8 to 1, you know, as many times as you need, sort of thing. Yeah, so hopefully that'll sort that out. So what I meant with that is, in order to put these back, I'd either have to stick these in chest here somewhere, you know. In fact, let's just do it for form's sake. It's a bit silly me saying I'm not going to bother doing everything. Just stick these on here. And it'll just feed the plastic in. What room is there? Until there's none left, mate. They all go in 2 chests? Yeah. That'll do us. That's fine. You see, I would need to come back and, you know, pick them up, basically. So, I think that's okay. We need to check more generally, as I say, because I wasn't doing proper balancing. Some things like that are okay. You know, it's where I've used the priority splitter, and I've done proper balancing there, so that's fine. You know, there are questions about lane balancing that I'm not doing. So am I lane balancing the sulfur? Oh, I am. So that's fine. And then it's, you know, balance there as well. And it's to do with, you know, I need all these balancers basically because of how I've designed things. It's not sort of... I think when people do megabasing, they use different techniques. You know, proper big megabasing. Because I have noticed things that I think you would probably want to exploit. Like, when you have a stack inserter. So the reason these aren't getting enough... So basically, these aren't getting enough cables. But as you can see, there's oodles of cables sat there. But what happens is there's some weird... It's not weird. It's how they've done it, sort of thing. But when a stack inserter has like a full belt, the orientations of its particular relationship to that belt determines what it picks up and how. So you'll get some... If you've got like a... I think if that was feeding in, sort of thing, then it would grab like predominantly from the right hand lane, and it would basically, and it like, it's almost like an animation. It sort of grabs its stack of, I can't remember how many it is. It's like 16 or something. No, 12. I can't remember, whatever it is. And so it'll just pause, grab all of them, let them all come to it, and of course the belt is delivering 45 a second. So on one side it's 22 a second, so, or 22 and a half. So it's able to grab, you know, all 12 items in like half a second or something. So it's able to get them really quickly and then throw them in, get them, throw them in, get them, throw them in. It's really quick. But if you don't feed it a solid right-hand lane to do that, and it's picking items from the left-hand lane, then it does them by grabbing individually. So it's like the inserters have different behaviour depending on whether they're taken from the side. And if you have a belt where it's just trickling in, there's a whole, and you can actually see it, and it's, you know, it's very observable. It like it will pause where it makes like a decision. So if you're sending it, you know, like 5 items trickling down a thing, it'll pause, and it's essentially making a decision whether it's going to grab those 5 items, wait for those 5 items, or grab one, put it in, grab one, put it in, grab one, put it in. And I say, there's all sorts of behaviours like that that I assume Megabases take advantage of. And I know there's the thing, if you have it putting things in chests, it's like instantaneous. You know, it doesn't obviously, it grabs all 12 items instantaneously. And I've not done that at all in this space. I should be, and part of that is because I've gone 12, big part of that is I've gone 12 beacons. So I can't, there's no way for me to do direct insertion or to put things in. I mean, I guess I could have a line of chests maybe, if it would fit. Yeah, so you could have like a line of chests basically, but then you'd only be able to do one, you know. Yeah, so what I think I can, and like for example these, what I think we can do to sort of fix this in a simple way is we can basically exploit the fact that, how am I going to do this? So when they put things on the right hand side of the belt, so we can basically, I think that'll be okay. And then what we can do, take that. What we need to, you got all my underground stuff. But what we can do is we can essentially force it to do. So I've probably got this the wrong way around. That basically. Have I got that the wrong way around? I have, haven't I? No. Yes, I have, I think. Because what we need to do... So we can force side loading with an underground, but you can't put... so I can't... If I flip that round... Well, basically, if I put one there... and so I can't do the same trick twice, effectively. But you don't need to, because that's now putting on the far side of the belt, and this is putting on the right side of the belt, so they are on different lanes. I say, so you have to do slightly different, and this, I'd say, I think I've now got that right. So this one, both of these are going to put on, so this one puts on the right, you have to think other way round, but it's going to put on the right hand side of the belt, so this side of the belt, right? And this one is now side loading it onto that side of the belt. And I can't, you couldn't do that. Could I? That would work, couldn't it? Would both of those work? Let's just quickly test it. No, they're both putting on there. That's not worked, has it? They're both putting. So if I do you that way, there is a way to get this to do what I want. No, you're both putting on the same side of the belt again. Okay. What about you? If I put you on. No, you're both putting on the right hand side of the belt. So there is a way to get it to do it, but I can't remember what it is. So I can use this trick to get it to put on one side. I don't know whether it's for the top or the bottom. Must be the other one, is it? We put... You see, because that's now the wrong way around, and it connects them every time. It sort of doesn't matter, because all I need is like a half belt. So, I had worked out... No, it's that side, isn't it? Grab them. Right, so that's double-siding it, so that's okay. And then I guess we would have to keep that like that. So I'm sure there was a way I had it. Maybe it's a left-right thing than a top-down. Yeah, not sure about that. But basically I can now stick an extra one of these in, essentially. So... Oh, you silly. Basically, so we can have that in there. Feeding extra thing in. And that should actually run better. grabbing from the bottom. Maybe it's that one I need to do. I'm going to stick them. Get rid of the tree. But it's like when you do it on the other side, it's different. See what I mean? So when we come over here and do this. Because these are symmetrical. Behaves differently, basically. I'm not explaining that. So if I put those two, is that the one? No, that's going to be wrong, isn't it? So I would need. So this one needs to be. Get rid of that one. We're now feeding on the right. On the left, there we go. If I do that, grab that. No? Oh. Oh, it's not got anywhere to put it. So yeah, let's take some of them. Is it what I mean? It's not. Sometimes it'll do the I want to grab individually, and other times it'll just stand there and grab 12. No, grab 12. We can also try and desynchronize it by actually using one of them. Or it might be better if I do a overall. That might help out. Because a lot of times it seems like, in fact, maybe if I do, so we've got an extra one there, so maybe if we turn that one down as well to say something. Got the extra one here. Make that one up. And it's more to do with, because they all fire up at the same time, and in a sense that's the problem. You know, because they all deliver a load of items at the same time, and then this is going so quickly, you know, it chews through them. And what you actually want is it to be a bit more continuous production with tiny stutters rather than big stutters. If this doesn't work, there is a simpler solution, which is literally to put an extra one in here, because we don't need that much. We won't need that much extra. And the boost it will get from, you know, I don't need to rearrange everything. I can literally just have one here, send some of it across this way. How I would split it, I'm not sure. That's the question. We've got lots of options. I could even reroute some of this stuff, because these produce way more than the reds need. So yeah, we could put an extra one here, and just send a tiny bit of extra stuff through, really. Right, so let's try and recreate that. In fact, why don't I copy that? What I need to delete? I need to delete this bottom stuff. Stick that. Hopefully it'll do the... I'll delete. So we'll have to do that. It's one of the ones, as I say, we'll sort of experiment with. The bit about it I don't quite get, if I'm totally honest, is it worked fine when I was doing it in creative mode. This wasn't something I had a problem with, but when we come into the real world, as it were, it does suddenly seem to have changed for some reason. Why have I put... Might as well do. Then I don't have to change the bottom bit. No, it's just this top. That take there, so we should have 8, 6. So if we get rid of that again. That in. So hopefully that'll help. If not, we'll come and add an extra one in. I'm not going to fiddle with it again. So I did the balancers and everything else was okay, wasn't it? Balancer-wise. Yeah. Okay, so we can take that out. Leave that there so I know to check. Rods then. Is that it? I think that's it. That's the last one, I think. It's going to be a tricky one. We should really... Why have I left that there? Yeah, we should really be running for that one. Just grab stuff back. Oops. Again. Oh, I did it again. Get it time, so. I'm in. No, don't take the stuff. Leave me alone. Spider alone. Because then you won't have anywhere to put anything. There are no storage chests over here. Right. So yeah, we'll leave that there so we can check that again. So I'm relatively happy that that fixes it. If it doesn't, we'll just do a research that doesn't involve. Oh, hi Ian. Hello Ian, sorry. Welcome back. Hope you're okay. I'm just fixing up a few things that I found. So, to update you on the power situation from yesterday, it turned out that it was about half of the nuclear needed switching on to get the power. And basically, that was a lot. It was about, I think it was about 7 gigawatts needed. So, basically, I did what I said and stuck creative mode on. And just spammed in, free stuff as it were. So we now have about 74 gigawatts, and I've got 1.2 million solar cells. Obviously, 200,000 of those I've cheated in basically. So it's kind of one of the reasons I'm going to stop this series basically, because if I'm cheating to do everything, then it's sort of defeating the point of the series, really. I was saying earlier, don't mean that in, if anyone wants to plays with creative mode and whatever, no probs. Oh, and the other thing, when I did the creative mode, I messed up, so I'm going super speedy, even though I've got any legs on, because it actually changes the file basically, and I forgot and turned all the cheats on. Because you have to, it's a cheat that obviously lets you put in free stuff. So that's the other reason, because I've kind of broken the game. Right, so yes, we need to do rods. Now, the question with this is how, basically. What I can do is, it would be a bit of effort. In fact, I don't suppose there's any issues with lanes of iron coming in at all. That's 8 lanes coming in. That's 8 lanes coming in. Are any of these? The problem is, I think basic. Oh, so this is. That's oh, in fact, that was the broken one, so I don't do that anyway. Because what I ideally want is a bit of spare iron to add in. I'm not sure I can do that. Or I could switch one to a double unloader. That might be a bit painful to do, though. Is there any spare iron anyway? So this is a double-load loader. I'm looking for the combination of an easy solution. And one that'll actually work, because the problem here is a combination of not getting the stuff in quick enough and also not providing enough material. What I could do, could I? We do have all of these irons here, so we could feed that in there as a sort of a top up. What's that belt doing? Why does that not... Oh, it's the wrong way around. Well, there's an error that I've just randomly found. Huh. Are all of them okay? Let's have a look. See. So, that one. Down. Down. Huh. Everything else looks okay. It's just that obviously that one. It's probably a random R, accidental R key press at some point. Yes, so what we could do, you see, is add this into here. So the leftover gets added in. The problem is, of course, it's always going to be added in on the right-hand side. Which is both a problem and not a problem. Because what I could also do, where am I? Do I need more steel for railroad tracks? No, I don't need more steel, or I may do. That may be the next problem. What I need is more rods. So for your railway, you need stone, steel, and iron. Well, I always call them rods, but they're iron sticks. And it's the iron sticks we're short of. But we're short of them because they're made from iron plate, and there's not enough iron plate getting to these, basically. So one of the things we can do, as I say, we have iron plate coming down to the steel, and I'm feeding it through the top. So one of the things I can do, potentially add in more grabbing power. So this one's difficult to test without running it because no real idea whether this will sort of work. But these are obviously all being fed in on the top of the belt now. And that may help, it may not do. It's a bit of a weird thing. It's like these where, you would think you stick more in. It's partly because the machines, stock up. Like they'll put more than is needed in, or have more in than they need. And so you get a thing where you have a very long chain of items where these are sort of oversaturated and they're like full of iron plate. And because they're grabbing all of the iron plate, there's nothing getting through here. So it's a bit like, so if a belt is delivering 45 items a second and you build something where it's dependent on, it's like perfectly matched, so your items being pulled in is 45 items per second, what will actually happen is that the machines at the end will probably not run fully because The ones at the front, up here, will take more items and just hold on to them, so they've got a stockpile. And because the game, because the stack inserters do 12 and all those sorts of considerations. I say rather than every machine running perfectly, these ones will have undersupply and these ones will have oversupply. And you can fiddle about with inserter stack sizes, so that's another thing we can do. But I don't know whether, the solution here, because what I can do as well is I can move all of these up. In fact, I don't know if I need, I do. We can move all of these up. And we can use the trick I've just used on the green circuits to make this 2. And basically free up a bit of space. I'll just do this preemptively. So we can make this output 2. And then... sorry, we're... can reduce it down into 2 with the underground, basically. And then I can have another iron plate lane coming in. I say I'd have to work out which way round it would need. But we could have another iron plate lane coming in here, along the bottom. If it's just a fundamental material supply question, rather than trying to get my stuff into the machines. But yeah, so this one's difficult to... So hopefully that'll work. But what we need to do now is fire up science. Am I going to do this as the final thing? So, say, because I messed up with the creative mod, numbers 1 to 7 have been given to us for free. But as you can see, they're basically free anyway. It's virtually no stuff. So if we stack up a bunch of them, as you see, 1100's basically not even breaking a sweat sort of thing. So it'll fire up a load of them. I'm doing these because this is the only science that I'm aware of that uses every single science pack. We'll have to go a fair way up. We're only at 2,000 there. Boom, boom. Kind of really emphasises the point about a megabase. It would take you ages to do this in a normal base. I have left these here in case there is. I mean, I could. I've never actually blown up a nuclear reactor before. I'd love to give it a go, but imagine that may well crash the game if I blow all of these up. It's just starting to slow down now. Have we got any trains ready to go yet? No, it's still only half full. You see, all of them are running basically. So we got the red. You're right. Military and everything. Oops. It's the wrong button. Let's have a look at the production. Still doing that stuttery. Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong. Yeah, you see. I have no idea why it does that. Because when you actually look at it, it's continuous. It's not. It's like that. It's not. The machines aren't. The labs aren't turning off and on. Because this would be noticeable, I think, unless it's so fast I just can't see it. Starting to get into the range where it's actually taking some time to do. There's actually an achievement, I think, for 100 followers. I've already got it. But you have to get them actually following you, so you have to, you know, make the bots and send them. We'll wait over here because eventually we'll get. There you go. So there's purple, blue, and everything heading out. So this will cause science to actually start being made. Is it all synchronized? That's what I was sort of going for, really. Why I kept this at 16 by 16. It was slightly delayed, wasn't it? So maybe there is some issue somewhere that I just don't know. Maybe there's an error in one of these balancers and it's causing it not to go out evenly. I did spend ages looking for it. See anything. Right, how are we doing? Any more on? So basically, eventually this purple train will turn up here. Here we go, this is probably it, is it? Oh, that's blue. Purple. So what we're able to check basically is this functioning? That's a good example of the coal problem. That train has already gone. The reason I should have had 2 coal stations is a combination of the fact that it's being used so heavily in the grenades. You know, I have to feed in 2 to supply it all, and the fact that being a raw resource, it only stacks up half the size. So effectively, although I've got 4 trains, you know, it's like having 2 trains of iron. So really I needed 2 stations. 4? Why are you not running? Oh, it's just a stack back issue, I guess. Item short. What's that? So it is running out of iron plate. Why is it running? Oh, I remember. This is only like a half. This one doesn't need to rust. These I need to keep an eye. It's quite distracting, that. The rate that that's going. Are you running okay? Oh. Cursor slipped off. So these seem to be running okay. Yeah, okay. Because the belts are okay, you know, there's nothing, no supply problems there. What I've done here, this is what I've done on the rods. Say, I don't know whether it's going to help or not. But we could fiddle about with that if I was really fussed, but these are sort of a extra one I don't really need, I think. Yeah, you see they're all running. Right, so how are we doing on science? Stacked up. Starting to get into decent sort of territory of. But they're only going up by 100 each time. Thought it might go up a bit. Right, so now that we got some purple being made, are these running okay? Oh, steel dropped out a bit then. Same again. So the whole thing of how I've built these is very much designed around the idea that there will be pauses, but the pauses need to be fractional, because particularly with something like this, the amount of material you need to get in and space considerations, meant that an approach of oversupply was the way to go. What we really need is for this to run for a good while, and for all of the backlogs and overstuffing, as it were, to sort of even itself out. Because these ones down the bottom, they've got plenty of rail tracks, you see. So the fact that this micro stutters where it can't quite get everything in doesn't matter. That really is quite quick, isn't it? Yeah, it literally only goes up by 100. That's a bit. I thought they were meant to go up exponentially. Right. So let's start checking some of the numbers. I can't see it pausing or anything like that, so should be okay. So I have no idea why it does that. Let's go on the 10 minute. So I say this jitteriness I don't care about. I mean, the chart we'll probably use to say yes, it's a success is this one, 10 hours. So, you know, next week before the stream, I'll basically set the base running, and we can take a look at the long-term chart. And if it's, you know, above 4,000, then consider it a success, basically. Because I mean, obviously, you know, even though there is the mining prod research, you know, which just increases the amount of stuff on a single patch, eventually, you know, there's a good chance we would run out on some of our patches because some of them are quite small, and I'm not actually doing that research, you know, at the moment, so it is eating the patches away, even though it's very slow. So eventually I would have to start adding extra resource patches in anyway. So he's probably getting... How close are we? So UPS is doing okay. I did delete the biters, as was previously mentioned yesterday. It gave me back about 4 or 5 UPS, basically. But we're not doing space science yet. Very close, but when that kicks in, we will get back down to about 35 or so. Because it's that one that really chugs it. Right, so let's have a look at production numbers again. What I'm looking for on these charts, basically, is the number starting to slide down, as it were. Oh, we're getting one that's sliding down. Oh, it's this one as well. You see that's starting to go a bit lower than the rest. Still over 5 though. Oh! Why is that 10,000 a minute? What? That's not a blooming creative mod problem. 10,000 a minute? Have I completely broken this game? Why are you consuming it? 10? Oh, run out, have we? Oh dear. Why is that saying 10 minutes? Oh, is it because it could be it's a 30-second science pack. That's why it's double. Because it only takes 30 seconds through that science pack. Haha. We might not be able to use this then. That might also be why the dip is even pronounced. What we could do instead then. What could we do instead? Because the problem with these ones, military ones I've got now, is they're all at 1 million. These ones. So that one's 730, isn't it? But enormous amount. So I couldn't, with these, it's relatively doable in a, sort of, I don't know what that would maths out to be, but it's like 10 minutes or something. So I can have that running, and then there's another one comes along. And obviously it benefits us with keeps the patches running and stuff like that. But it doesn't obviously use military science packs. But everything else, and that one is another useful one, but that's now at 1 million. And all of these, as I say, are super costly. So they would sit there for ages, chewing through those science packs. So something like utility science, well, utility science is not used in the production of those. And obviously that's one of the more challenging ones, and the one we're trying to look at the problems. It is used there, but then military is not used. So if I switch over and do all these, then, military is just not going to be used. But if I flip between these two, oops, then the science is going to go up for a bit and then down for a bit, up for a bit and down for a bit. And that's not what I want. What I'm trying to go for is a steady state. Tell you what, let's take this up to about 100 or so. Oh, well. Is 100 sensible, viable? Yeah, let's take it up, because they're only going up by 100 each time. So I always thought it was all of them were an exponential increase. Let's do a bunch more of these then, so I can at least see everything running. And we'll just flip over to mining after a bit. What I'm kind of interested in, really, is does this now run? Here you go. There's the behaviour I was just talking about. Where basically that inserter is making a decision between whether it waits for more stuff to arrive or it inserts what it's got, because it's not quite got enough. And obviously that is creates a sort of a fluctuation in material coming in. Whereas this one is just going grab, 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 stick in, grab, 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 stick in. But if you notice, this one is actually sort of running quicker. There you go. So it's sticking things in at a different rate to this one. And I don't know whether the two give the same net result. I would suspect not. But, it means they're desynchronized. So the machine then... That's why it goes 5 and then... Oh, it was not working. Yeah, so it's not actually getting enough coal. But I'm saying all I'm doing here is blending two belts together, so it's effectively one full belt again. And we got material sat on the end there, and yet this one is hungry. So really, this should probably blend in, or it should have access to this as well. Okay, how are we doing on the numbers now? Is white science not kicked in still? So prod science is lower, but is it, you know, declining? Oh, it seems to have sort of plateaued at a bottom there, doesn't it? So it might be okay. It might just be a slower thing. I say we would then need to work out, is it because of these steel microstatters? Is it still not getting enough rods? Because this now seems to be, you know, the problem with the machine now is the output fall, but it produces more rods than this needs. Just trying to keep an eye on it. I think, yeah, it's the steel that stutters out. How I would get more steel in, I guess we could make this double lane. I don't know if any, because you're sat there doing nothing. In fact, huh. So what we could do is, because it, you know, and there's that problem again. That it looks like that entire row of smelters is doing nothing because this belt is backed up, but the inserters can't insert quicker, essentially, and there's nowhere for me to put them. You know, put more. Oh, there we go. Put more inserters. So what we'd have to do is get these as well outputting to this belt, because this belt's only literally connecting these two. Which wouldn't be too difficult, because what we could do, you know, is have something there. What side are you outputting on? Yeah, you're on the right hand side there. So we could side load it on there. You know, we could spaghetti something around here, hop it over, stick it on the side. Let's give that a go. Right, so if we put stack there, then around there, pop it across there. Oh no, it won't load on, will it? But then this is only one thing, so why don't we? Oh, we've got room here. So why don't we hop across there? Then that should load on the side. Yeah, there we go. Never met a problem that couldn't be solved with a giant bowl of spaghetti. Don't really need stacks. So that gets it a tiny bit more steel coming through here. It really is tiny though. Oh, you've stopped as well, have you? Oops. Clicked on something. Okay, so let's recreate or copy that down. Have I gone too far? No, that's the last one. That might have helped. It might not have helped. It is, as I say, sometimes a little difficult to know exactly what's going to happen. We're about to run out of text. Yeah, it seems to have stabilised at 5.2 anyway. Oh, we got white signs kicking in. Now we have, haven't we? Question is whether it will weak up, basically. 5.3-ish maybe, up slightly. Trending towards 5.3 maybe. See any? Okay. So this gives a deception, because I say the creative mode has, edited the file and increased my run speed. It sort of compensates for the fact that the game's running only at half the speed. If I get in Spider, there you go. It's like running in treacle, basically. And if I really want it, if we wanted to go. So. That was silly me, that. I wasn't thinking it through properly. I just turned all the cheats on, basically. Right, let's have a look at this green circuit situation. It's obviously been running for a little while, but not that long. Has that solved it? Looks like it probably has. Fingers crossed, maybe? Oh. So let's see if we can take this up to 100. Because each one actually gives 10. So if we're on 100, I think that's like 1,000 potential followers. So take it up to, I don't know, 100 or something. And then we'll switch over to mining prod. So, how long have we been running now? Running about 15 minutes, I think. Okay. Oh, that's quite a nice graph. It's the site, that's the rockets firing. So there's 1, 2, 3. It's 4, 5, 6. Or maybe that's that one firing again. It's weird that it's more steps than 6, though. 5, 6, 7? Right, let's just have a look at the power situation. Would be okay. Because this is the first bit where we've been running the satellite. Sorry, running space sign. So, it's like 7 segments on the graph, basically. See, so basically 4.5 segments in, basically charged up. Should be okay now. If not, I'll just fire up. We'll just switch over into creative. I say I've already broken the game. Or I could just delete the layers and stuff if it's that close. There you go, you see. We're now fully charged. And the solar's turned off. We've now fully charged the accumulators. And we've gone from... So science switching on has taken the time to charge, as it were. That bit to that bit. Sort of double. But we've still got plenty of leeway still. So assuming everybody is running, let's just make sure everyone's firing rockets. You can tell if it's doing this all the way down, everyone's firing rockets consistently. It's all good. Cool. So the one to check then is, did the satellites cope? Looks like it. Yeah, we got loads in storage. No empty belts. Cool. So that recovered. Okay. I don't. You have to tell me. I don't know. This is the most interesting stream because I think I've probably solved everything. It's a bit hubristic to say, but say other than maybe this, because blue was running okay, wasn't it? Green circuits. In fact, it's stacked back. So unless there's some issue that's, you know, with engines or something. But these are all fully crammed out. Look. It's engines for days. So blue's just running okay. The only question I would have, I guess, oh, it's interesting that one's not running very fast. I guess that one's been divided up where the others aren't. But this is all crammed back. The only question, as I say, is with the trains on this, I think, because of the... This is a terrible way to unload oil from trains. Yeah, there you go. You see, so they're full. But these are like half full. When it sort of has the profile of, you know, sort of increasing as it goes up the thing, but not really. So you're empty, you see, you're empty. You're half full, you're suddenly full. Okay, so that is coming through. There you go, so... And this is all the weirdness with the fluid mechanics. That one's what? 60% full? That one's maybe 65% full. That one's, what, 35% full? And then that one's empty. Why? Oh, hello. Grim Reaper GT. Nice factory. Oh, and hello. Garland to Mars as well. Hello. You're all coming in. So you got your 5k. I think so. I think we're there. You might have the slight problem with utility science. I'm just sort of hanging around here. In case it drops off or anything. But I think hopefully we might be there. Thank you very much, Grim Reaper GT, for the factory compliment. I'm sort of waiting to see what happens, so I can give you a bit of a... Grim is ECN. Okay, thanks. I mean, I'll tell you what. So basically, this is the science, science lab area. They're all 10 beacon now. Originally, I built them at 12. And it's obviously chunking through this follower robot count, because basically it's the only one I'm aware of that has all of the science packs. But it turns out because it's 30 seconds, they're obviously eating them twice as quick. So we'll probably, well, we'll switch back over to mining productivity. So they get eating through them at 10,000 because they only take 30 seconds. So it's eating them a lot quicker than it's making them. But I say we'll switch back to mining in a second. This was just a way of testing everything at the same time, really. Yeah, so this is the science area, science lab area. All the trains dropping stuff off. Loading on this. This is basically a 16 by 16 grid. So what I'm doing, I'm splitting everything up so that it's all, you know, unloading onto 16 lanes of science, basically. Am I doing that to burn through some buffers? A bit of that, yeah. So I basically, I say the only science I know that uses all of them. There is obviously in creative mode, there's like that void science, but the only one I know that uses, unless I'm being dumb and it suddenly starts adding them in, but you know, this one doesn't have military, and this one has all of them. And so that lets me run all of them, because all of these military ones are now at really, really expensive. So if I switch over to them, utility science will just stop. And utility science is obviously one of the most difficult ones, so I want that to be running. But what happened earlier on, basically this junction here is blue science and military science, grey science. That's their supply point, and it caused a massive traffic jam. So I kind of want to run both at the same time so that we get rid of. So we're not really. There's a lot of buffering going on, but all the machines are now running. They're all demanding stuff, so all of the trains are, properly running. So I'm sort of seeing whether this is going to be a problem still. It doesn't look like it is. It looks like I fixed it this morning, but hopefully that'll be okay. So we'll run these up to about 100, because I didn't know. This one only goes up by 100 each time. So these are only 100 more expensive. So we're absolutely rattling through them. Also, they're only quick ones. So we'll switch back over to mining prod when I'm happy, basically. We'll go up to about 100 or so, I guess. Let's have another quick look. Make sure nothing's collapsed or fallen over. I do like that. That's quite effective. It's not done that before. It's the rockets firing off, basically, in science pack. So if we get rid of white, drop that down to a minute. You see, it's very up and down. It's because of the whole way I'm doing it. It's not a continuous production of anything. But they're all floating around sort of 5.2 and 5.1 and utility. Oh, chemicals starting to go. Have I used up all of those green circuits? No, green circuits is all crammed up still. What are you running out of? If I say that, all the red circuits are running. I can tell. I wonder if I'm under. Oh no! What happened there? I wonder if there's some supply issue. Because this one doesn't seem to be... This one seems to be understocked compared to the others. Why would that be? Not missing an insert or something. Oh, why is there a random... Don't know what that's for. Strange that that's the only one where it's, you know, this is like all belts for days. And then this one, belt's not at all full. When I look at the machines, they seem to be running okay. To keep an eye on that. Don't use military science layer, just do mining prod and robo speed. Yeah, so that's where we'll get to. But so I wanted to at least test the whole base running, making everything. Grim, I've not got to a base anywhere near this yet, Lol, but I do have a goal of... What's your goal? Sorry, it's covering that. Take a second. 5,000 a minute. So I guess this is research for me. So if you want some... So next week, not wanting to, you know, if you're not around, don't bother. But I'm going to do like a post-mortem stream where basically, so during the week I'm going to think through all the things that I did wrong. I can't think of any better way of putting it. You know, it was very much a learning exercise for me. And Skyline, who's in the chat, has actually been quite helpful because he's done quite a few megabases. But all the things I did wrong, basically, as in, I say, I don't mean that in a negative way, in the sense of, you know, did a bad thing, but I mean as in the things I suppose it's more things I would have done differently now that I know, sort of thing. A really big one is power. So this base is not efficient on power. You know, there are a lot of places I could save a lot of power, but just two. 1.4, then 6,000. Crikey. Yeah, and so it's not efficient on power. So there is a lot more, you know, power production that is technically needed because I've not done it very efficiently. But basically, like every time I thought, oh, that'll be enough power, it was nowhere near enough power, and I had to add more and more and more and more. To the extent, as you can see, that, I mean, it's pretty clear, I think, that this was going to be my power area. And this is only about, what's that, about a third of all the solar panels I've got. There are, in fact, now, it's too many. I'm going to say it's not efficient. But we now have 1.2 million solar panels. Just bonkers, really. And one of the things I learned there, really, is it's just how big it could get, how much solar, you know, you end up using. And obviously there's an element to that. It's all 12 beacons, so it's 12 beacon builds. And they are massively power expensive. So if we have a look at the power again. So this is, you know, the big power draws. And this is the beacons. And so it's basically, I mean, that's basically the sum of everything else combined. So like half of my power is going into beacons. So I would actually probably, I might use a combination of like 8 and 12, but 8 beacons is like way more power efficient. But if I'd, oh, we're run out of them. So I say we'll just stack a bunch more up till we get to about 100. Very quick. I would build a dedicated solar factory, because what I kept doing each time is I would build what I thought was, you know, enough solar, and it's all been built on a bus. So all of the solar production, get it, zoom in properly, is, where is it? Here. But as you can see, I've sort of just added more and more production here, and it's horribly inefficient and nowhere near enough to make the one 0.2 million. And so I would build an actual dedicated solar factory that was like big, a proper one. And it's sort of, I was saying at the beginning of the stream, it's like a cost benefit thing of sort of saying, well, do you just limp on with the inefficient thing you've got, or do you actually build a dedicated thing to make that, from raw resources or whatever? And solar is definitely one where I kept saying, well, I only need a bit more, so I'll just limp on with what I've got. And in fact, yesterday, this wasn't here. And I actually used creative mode to just add it in, because there didn't seem any point doing another 5 streams or whatever of just me waiting for the solar to build, because everything else is done. What I was able to do while I was putting these in was, other work on other bits of the factory. But we're now at the stage where if any of this is broken, if it doesn't work, I'm not going to rework it all. So I just enable creative, turn the creative mod on and just spam that in, because, I say I could just leave it. I mean, this middle section here, I just left it running overnight to do it, because I don't have the energy to build a solar farm now. Having got so far into it, it just seems I'm not that interested in doing that. But if I'd known at the beginning it was going to be so big, I would have done that, and it would actually have saved me a lot of time. The other big mistake I made was an outposting approach. It sort of makes sense for red and green, I think. Find a nice couple of big patches, and that'll probably supply you with everything you need. But for utility science, it took hours. I mean, hours and hours and hours. Because I've turned the biters off as well, so we're running without the biters. Again, with a mod. But this was, as you can imagine, this was all biters in here, and I had to clear all of them out. And then building all of this took hours and hours and hours, to the extent that when I then came to do these ones, because I was going to do the same for gold, and it was just apparent that I was going to be doing this until for another year sort of thing, if I'd done that as well. So what I then flipped to doing was just extending the base. So this was done with artillery, just pushing out the base walls, and I did this in like a third of the time, if probably not even that, like a tenth of the time it took to do that. So outposts, I think if you're going for like maybe 2,000 science per minute or something, that's a brilliant way to do it, because you just build that dedicated thing. But if you're going to this scale, it makes more sense to grab patches that are close to your base. Because I have got some. The other mistake, the other thing I would do differently is go with a rich, bits, lots of smaller, fewer bigger patches, basically. Basically like a sort of a train world resource patch size, because, there's a lot of material in here, but most of it's in pretty small patches, particularly around here, that it's almost not worth mining when you're talking on this scale. And it makes it quite difficult, I would say, to decide which ones to go for, because they're sort of horribly both sort of close and far away. So a lot of these outposts, I've claimed an awful lot of land just to get a couple of patches. As I say, I would tweak the settings in that way. And then, as I say, go more with an expansion approach. Because the other thing with these, there are episodes and episodes where I was designing outposts, which was fun. But, it took an awful long time. And then to build them, I've got an army of Spidertrons with all sorts of stuff. And I would have to send them back and forth over and over and over again to get all the materials for the outposts. And they're going. It takes like 10 minutes to get from there to there. even with like you know, as many legs as you can, sort of thing. But yeah, so I would say it's kind of a, you know, you need way more power than you think you're going to need. Just no matter what you're doing, basically. I think Skyline in particular was kind of basically trying to tell me that I didn't have enough power several times because I think you said that like half of your base is power, and I guess, I mean, more than half is mine. You know, if you take these as, you know, they're not, that's not the base, that's the base, as it were. That's probably more than half the base. That's right, on Train World, super rich, super large resources except uranium. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what you, if you're going to go, I think, you know, 2,000, 3,000 is probably perfectly good for a, you know, normal settings map. But when you get up into these sorts of scales, it's just you need so much of everything that, you know, something, you need to sort of compensate for it. How are we doing? Doing a few. Take that up. What's the time anyway? It's only 10 to 5. No, maybe let's stop at 80. Getting bored of that. So we'll flip back to these. Well, let's have a look at the charts first. But so my goal was 5,000, but not 5,000. By the way, it was. I sort of built some builds that I hoped would do 5,300 ish. And as you can see, purple is obviously not quite running, but it is running. In fact, it's slowly trending down, isn't it? That's not very. Oh no, that's chemical. Oh. Oh, that's because it's switching over to the mining prod. Over time, we are drifting down. Why would that be? And is it sort of even sensible to fix it? I mean, that's actually crammed with. What are you waiting for? Oh, you're waiting for. Oh, okay. Okay. Have we got some problem with. Whatchamacallit? Oh, we have. Steel is not getting through. Okay. I can't see any steel in that that's idle, but we're getting some that are not running here. Maybe it's on the other side there. Ah. Something wrong there, isn't there? Why would that be? Oh, because there's no iron getting through here. Ah, is this the revenge? Yeah. The revenge of the balancers. Dang. I was hoping I could get away with that. So what I really need to do here is double-sided unloading. I have a blueprint for a double-sided. In fact, have we got? There you go. I should be doing this. I thought I could get away with this, but I'm not. That's why it's not running properly. Because I'm taking 4 lanes and dividing it into 5, but this build needs it to be 5 by the looks of things. It's in fact, could I fix that? So it's these top ones are running okay because they've also got that. So what I could possibly do is actually just take some of the inserters out, and then more stuff will get down to these ones here. Okay, let's give that a go. There you go. How does nuclear power work at these levels, or is solar all the way because it's sustainable? No. So, I mean, I have had nuclear up and running. This is design I put together. It's 2x2 nuclear. So the problem with nuclear is more from a UPS point of view, because so what the game I don't know if you know the debug menu. Remember whether it's in detailed info. Is it time usage? Here we go. So heat manager, unless I'm very much mistaken, heat manager is basically the heat pipes. So even though this is all switched off in the sense that the nuclear reactors don't have any more fuel, I've cut off the fuel supply. Basically, because this is still here, it still exists, the game is updating the nuclear, and obviously when it's actually running, it's doing even more calculations. It's also doing fluid mechanics, and fluid mechanics are horrible. One of the things I would say to you, if you are building big, do coal liquefaction, basically, because then you don't have to worry about unloading oil. And unloading oil, as you can see, I mean, this is a terrible design, but unloading oil is just such a... To unload it evenly, you know, I mean, I've got... This train is like, you know, a couple of carriages basically full and everything else empty, and these tanks will have almost random amounts of oil. In fact, those are fairly solid. Fairly... There you go. So that's empty, but, you know, these are almost full. And so it's a terrible design. It's not very good. You have to use circuit networks. But if you use coal liquefaction, you get around the whole unloading thing. You obviously still have to have, you know, fluid moving around, you know, into your cracking and all that sort of stuff. But you get rid of one of your headaches because you just need coal coming in. So you don't need to mess about with oil unloading from trains. And I would generally go down that route probably again. I wouldn't, you know, maybe something like this where I am using it just for satellites, just as a one thing. But I wouldn't bother. I think I would do everything with coal liquefaction, I think, just because it takes away a massive headache. But yeah, so nuclear then has got two fluids in it. So it's got both the water and the steam. So it's got two fluids and the heat pipes, which it kind of treats as a fluid. So even if you did one of these things where people do like the 2x24 nuclear reactors sort of thing, it's like a massive amount of calculations going on. And solar, so long as it's all connected together, maybe they've changed this, I don't know, maybe that's not how it works anymore, but it treats as one entity. So there is one, effectively there is one solar panel in this base and one accumulator in essence. It's gigantic. So it's not doing, it's obviously still doing a lot of maths because there's, you know, a lot of power draw from a lot of different things, but in terms of the whole panel generation side of it, it's a lot simpler. As I say, I need to get rid of these, and that'll give me a few UPS back. There's a bit of a con going on because I turned on creative mode to spam those solar panels in, and unfortunately I turned on all the cheats and it's set my walking speed really fast. So it looks like I'm actually running at, in a normal game, normal running at like super fast speed, but because it's running at 30 UPS, it's not noticeable. Right, so what we can do, as I say, is we can chop out some of these inserters for these ones that have got the extra supply. Take some of these out, and that'll enable a bit more stuff go down to the ones at the bottom. Or it should do anyway. Which ones am I doing? Down to there, okay. In fact, we probably, given this is all backed up, probably don't even need, you know, them draining from this lane at all, but... So we'll just take out a few. How many have I got down there? I think there's about 6, aren't there? So if we take out 6 or so. Is that 6? 1, 2, 3, 4. And, oh, there's only 3. It's odd that it's only this side that's having that problem. I bet that's some kind of artifact of the fact that it's side loading. And this balancer. So it should be happening down here as well, but it clearly isn't. I wonder if that's also a sort of a weird consequence of the number of trains. Because we've got 3 iron... No, we've got 2 iron here. Feeding all of the smelting. Oh, we've got 2 here though as well. But we've got 2 here. There you go. So I've got 2 here that are double-sided unloading. And I've got 2 here that are single-sided unloading. Where I'm then splitting them up. Okay. So it's a double whammy. There's not enough material coming down these things here. Or going in there. Okay. So that's why they're drawing more from that lane, isn't it? Because these are a bit starved as well. So they're saying, right, well, I've not quite got enough here, I guess at the end. In particular. And so it's also drawing more from that top lane, which is already a bit starved. Okay. It's understandable, but the actual solution of putting double-sided unloading in would be quite a pain in the bum. Because we'd have to stop the entire... We'd have to stop it, basically, because it becomes too difficult at these speeds to do a lot of that stuff. And also these chests are all full. I mean, I could stop the trains. You know, stop them from unloading. And they'll chew through it, but... Do I care enough? Never had a problem with liquid unloading and loading, and I use trains with crude oil and water for more refining cracking. Really? Okay. Is it... I bet you've got a better system than my unloading, though, because my unloading is horrendous. I find it... My problem with it is it's not logical in a sense. That whole thing where stuff sloshes back and forth in pipes is just stupid to me. It just doesn't make any sense. So I really find a struggle, you know, to get things to unload sensibly. Because I do things like, there you go. So I've got tanks in the middle there with half empty. Tanks at the end are full. And I just find it sufficiently sort of annoying, frustrating, that I'd much rather use sort of coal liquefaction. Hoping my PC can keep up now. These 2 PC run 6K base at 30-ish UPS. Turn off biters and pollution for the UPS. Yeah, so that is the other thing. Pollution is still on. So that's one of the things that's really hammering the UPS, because that's quite a lot. I mean, that's a lot of maths going on. Right, has this improved any? Have we getting a bit more material coming through or not? Not really. We should probably chop a few more out. So, make. I mean, like, the thing I would say is, with the UPS thing, I think people get a bit too worried, a bit paranoid about it. You know, there are... So, you know, the fact that this is a massive area of the base uncovered, of the map uncovered, is also a problem. And that's a problem I could have avoided if I'd been more sensible about expanding just within my... Or if I'd known the lesson already of, expand this base. Particularly the way I do things anyway. I'm sure other people can make outposts work better, but... and I've got like loads of radars that are... Because radars are updating stuff, and, I'm not actually fussed about UPS, really. It's just the problem with it is more like this. If you discover a problem and you want to fix it, and it'll take quite a lot of work, then it does run very slowly. But at the moment, with it just chugging through the science, I'm not actually fussed about it running slowly. And I say the difficulty comes in that if I discover something like the trains thing, when I discovered this had all snarled up, basically I had to wait for all the trains and stuff to stop moving around because it was so slow that there was a real risk of me getting run over, basically. So yeah, I had to wait for everything to calm down and the UPS to go back up to about 60 in order to do some work. And then, of course, it takes ages for it to ramp back up again. But, that's partly a reflection of I'm doing trains with tons of science on it. If you were using smaller trains, you wouldn't have that sort of issue. All they do is try and balance themselves if they can, but it probably just means that they're not drawing from each other's storage tank evenly. So it won't be balanced. Yeah, so I mean, it's not a good design. I'm not pretending it's anything like a good design. But say it's just a headache I prefer not to have, really. And given that coal liquefaction is, sort of so easy, from that point of view, just to me, it's a sort of personal. My personal preference is to go down that route. I think more. I wish I was doing it here, basically, for the plastic. Plus, of course, when you're making plastic, you've got to have coal anyway. So, almost an argument of might as well just use the coal, sort of thing. So we've been running on mining prod for a while. Some of these seem to have turned on a bit more, but why are you not running? Oh, you're full. Oh, we're getting some backup now. Has that fixed things? Let's have a quick look. Is it creeping up, or is that my imagination? Oh yeah, we've sort of crept up again. So the sort of big fixes I'm not going to do. If it would need a complete rework, like the trains thing, I'm not going to do that. But what I wish I would have done is set a lower goal, basically. So, I mean, the honest truth is, I've got this series is a bit of a fib, if it's in the total honesty, because if you take that definition of a megabase as 1,000 science per minute, then I've done that loads of times, because a bus like this would do about 2,000. You optimize it properly. And I've done that before, so technically I have done it, but I never really regard these as being megabases. It's obviously big, but to me that's not what it is, as it were. To me it's more the whole, it's dedicated builds through some system of science. And you need to be up 3,000 plus science, I think, for it to be that sort of thing. Or one that I'm happy. Not meant as a slight on any system like that. But I say, I've never had, virtually every bus I've done has made 1,000 science a minute. Because that's just where you end up with if you're trying to send rockets at a reasonable rate and do mining prod at a reasonable rate. Kind of where you end up anyway. Or I always do it. But yeah, so in a sense it was a bit of a fib on that front. But in terms of base like this, never done anything like this before. I've learned a load. So yeah, I'd rather have another go than try and fix this basically. So I've had enough. Yeah, I'll do a stream next week and just run through, some of the things I learned, I think. But we'll also talk about, I think I'll probably actually start. So what I'm going to do next is try and do the 2 achievements that I haven't got, which are the the game is, of course that's with the biter deletion mod. I would probably play with biters again. Would probably have them on and then do the same thing, have a mod switch them off, or just use a command or whatever. But yeah, pollution I would probably turn off. I think I was saying this before. What I thought a train world is probably what I would do, but it turns out train worlds have more water on them, the default train world setting, so I would turn that down. So where's the... So it's basically these two, the spoon achievement and the chit chat. So I'm going to try and get them basically. So what I'll do is I'll play it through, I'll set the settings up in my favour, big patches and stuff. And I'll try and play it through, and make a base that will launch a rocket. And if it gets within one of those two, then brilliant. But then what I'll do is I'll basically repeat it as if it's a speed run. For me, it's a speed run. And see if I can get the spoon achievement, basically. Tara wind beacons. Are they? I presume they're like super boosted beacons up. I know that because there's like, is it Factorio extended? Which is, I think that's the one where it gives you like, more and more tiers of belts, and like you can get like Power Armor Mark 7 or something. I did look at it once. One tile in. Oh right, crikey. Yeah, that's. I mean, I say, what I'll probably do next week as well. And I've been moaning about this, in lots of streams, so it won't be news to anyone. But there's a set of things I think should be in vanilla, like as in boosts, basically. So radar is one of them. There should be some infinite tech, and it should be really expensive. It shouldn't be easy to do, but there should be some infinite tech that increases radar range, or gives you, or maybe there's a radar Mark 2 or something like that is a much bigger coverage area. Because the problem with a lot of these builds is that like the blueprint doesn't fit on the screen. So when you zoomed in, I'm sure you guys know this, you zoomed in at this level, and some of these, but like these, when I was designing these, I designed this in creative mode and then brought it over, but you can't see anything. If you zoomed in enough to see where things are, you can't place the blueprint, or know where you're placing the blueprint. So And like my my train thing here with a 484 train is does fit within a radar thing. But if you were to go to like 20 carriage trains or something, a single radar wouldn't be able to cover them. What was another good example? Something that a radar. Well, there you go. So you need several radars to cover this science thing. So I wish there was like an infinite radar tech. What was the other one I keep moving? But yeah, something that can boost power production in some way. Like a solar panel Mark II or some kind of solar efficiency or something like that that can just boost up the amount of power you get out of solar panels or reduce the footprint or something like that. Because, as well as the production challenge of this, there's the space challenge. Because even if I had done a compacted base, where I expanded within my borders, I'd still need to clear out hundreds and hundreds of bases and landfill it all. Because it just takes up so much room. And yeah, like you said, I mean, beacons are a real space hog, really, when you think about it. So if you were to, stick on one tile beacons, you could either super boost everything, couldn't you? Or, because presumably they have the same coverage area, or maybe they're bigger coverage area. But you could stick even more in such a smaller space. Seem to remember Mark IV radar. I had some from a mod. I can't remember which one though. Yeah, I know. Say, there is Factorio extended, and that does have like boosted levels of things. Faster belts and that sort of things. I think there's a few actually. Yeah, I think there should be something like that. I know they never intended for people to do, giganto bases, but I think some kind of recognition for that in vanilla. With the thing, and so they could make it really expensive. These researches are $1 million each already. There's not that. I've not done that many. So yeah, I think that wouldn't be beyond the realms of sense. How are we doing anyway? Well, this is kind of the post-mortem stream anyway. I did just want to have a look at the power, make sure we aren't browning out. Oh, it is running full chat though. Huh. So maybe an issue there. Maybe we don't even have enough power. Huh. How can 74 gigawatts not be enough power? That's ridiculous. This is all backed up now, isn't it? Let's have a look at the production side, I think. Again. Oh, everything's sort of still above 5 or at 5k. What about on an hour? Okay. So the production did sort of recover a bit. I wish you could sort of set. I think unless there's a way of doing it, so that you could just zoom in to a bit that you want. I'm happy to call that. Is that the? Oh, it's the military. I wonder what happened. Yeah. So I have no idea why it's. Okay. What was the other thing I was going to have a quick look? Oh yes, the chemical. Ah, some of them are running out of reds. Maybe I've just got that wrong. Maybe we just need slightly more red circuits. But it's strange that, I mean, it's sort of moving across, isn't it? So these ones didn't have, because these aren't running, some of these. Running very occasionally. It was just that row, that column. And now it's moving across. So, which implies to me, because these are fully stocked, you know. We haven't come here and seen, oh, it's run out of plastic, which was the issue before. And everything's fully backed up. So maybe I just don't, I need one more, I should have one more row of reds. And that this is just a very, very slow drain. You know, eventually, give it an hour or so, this will, you know, drop down to a handful of circuits coming in. Yeah, maybe the maths is just slightly off. I mean, it could also be that there's some beacon in the system that doesn't have speeds in it or something like that, maybe. Misaligned something somewhere. But so it's interesting that the lack of material is sort of drifting across. But then this is full now. It has a feeling of something cyclical going, but what, I don't know. Because everything's just full. Oh no, it isn't. Is it the engines that are a problem? Maybe it's actually the engines that are... maybe that's the issue. And it's a back and forth thing, where it runs out of engines. And so the reds then sort of catch up, and then it gets a load of engines, and reds get eaten through. So we're all running. See anyone not? Yeah. Iron plate is not getting to the end. Okay. Is there a quick fix for that? It's probably that effect I was talking about before, where essentially this is, you know, keeping itself overstocked to a degree that is harming these. So we could go and put regular inserters, regular fast inserters on them. You know, to throttle the input in a very easy way. Bobs, yeah. I'd quite like to give. So I was saying this on some of my other streams. I've never really done one of the big overhaul mods. That's the other series I'd quite like to do. But I'm sort of aware. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not. I've said this, but I'm not. You know, I'm not really any goal of becoming a streamer, as it were. I just do this for fun. But I'm very aware that people don't generally watch modded playthroughs. And partly because it's difficult to pick up, particularly if you like 20 streams into Bobs or something, then you're dealing with stuff that has no real context for anyone who's playing vanilla. So it's only people who, you know, have played Bobs or are interested in Bobs can actually follow what's going along. And you're either left to then just explain absolutely everything every single time you play it, or nobody watches, or the one person who happens to be online who's played Bob's will watch. And I'd started a Factorio 2 playthrough, and I was quite enjoying it, but one of the things I have a slight problem with is on a lot of these overhaul mods, another whinge incoming I'm afraid, is they fiddle about with stuff for no apparent reason. So I was playing Factorio 2, and maybe I got the wrong end of the stick with this and it's not actually true, but it's like instead of, you put one piece of iron ore in and you get one piece of iron ore out of a smelter, you had to put 10 pieces of iron ore in and get 10 iron plates out. I don't think it had changed the ratio. Maybe it had, and it's like, why? If it's the same net result, fiddling about with things almost for the sake of it, it's not really that interesting to me. The fact that it's got other recipes in it, other materials, other manufacturing systems, other machines, that's what I'm interested in. The fact that you have to design smelting slightly differently because, they've done something like that is not of interest to me. I say that tends to be a lot of, I know Bob's, there's like, is it like 6 different ways of producing iron plates sort of thing? And it's like complexity for the sake of complexity. Although I know he also adds a whole load of extra stuff, so there's more to it than just that. But I say, I'm sort of, I'd like to give him a go, but also very aware that probably no one would watch. And also I'd get a bit frustrated and annoyed. Just because, as I say, it's not entirely my cup of tea to just fiddle about with things like... It's like I would never play... I don't know how you pronounce it. I always pronounce it Pyanodon, because it's Tyrannodon. I always thought it was a pun on. Pyanodon, so however it's said. And that one's like super ridiculously complicated, isn't it? And literally just for the sake of complexity. Hold on. It's less about complexity and more about ore doubling, like mechanism in Minecraft. I've never actually played. I've started Minecraft about 5 times and never really continued with it. I think it's just. And it's a snobbish thing to say, but it's the graphical side of it. The fact that it's really, really blocky, it puts me off, I think, and I just don't. I find it a sort of. I don't know how to explain it. It's almost the same problem or difficulty that I have with Satisfactory, where it's just, it's like you're too close to everything, and that gets even worse because every block is like, gigantic. I should give it another go, though. It's hours to go. Let's have a look at the power again. I'm wondering whether... Do you have any kind... Oh, look, it is sort of browning out, actually. Wow. I mean, that's a small thing, isn't it? So we could go around... I could just sort of... The trouble is... Look at this. Because I've got... I mean, this is the sort of other problem with outposting. I've got loads of lasers, and I've turned the biters off. I didn't bother deleting the lasers. I should have done that when I had the creative mode on. But if I turn them all off, UPS will get even more sharp. Because it's like... I mean, I could. It might be... If I just... Maybe if I delete these, and it's literally a couple of power pops. Will that turn you off? Oh, you see, it's still connected. There we go. Gonna shut down? These aren't, I mean, none of this is doing anything. It's all switched off. Okay. So if we take out a few power poles, I can just disable those very... Okay, let's do that then. Because it looks like it's really, really close. It is a brownout that's happening. There's another one. It's I'm a bit worried to say if I delete all the lasers, then that'll give us over 1 gigawatt back. But it also means the bot's kicking into drive, kicking into action. Let's have a look. There we go. It's one down. And we've got all of them. In fact, I could just... I bet... Is anyone coming over here at all? No. This was such a waste of time. Doing all of that. Is there a way I can... I can't. I could maybe shell my own power poles. Yeah, let's do that. So I don't really care anymore in a sense. So let's... Which ones are... If I take those two out. Hopefully one will do. Beacon consumption, yeah, it's enormous. It's absolutely bonkers. Oh, wait, it's less complex. Yeah, it's just nuts. It's there's more power. Well, that should disconnect everything. Just trying to see if the radars are turning. There we go. That's them all. Yeah, there's like everything added together is less than the beacons. It's just insane. And I say I wouldn't go quite down that route again. I would do, because it's my own stubbornness. I've just stuck. No, not. Oh, I didn't do that one. I've just stuck religious. Oh, it's still connected then. I've just stuck religiously to 12 beacons, just almost on principle and almost out of spite for myself, because it's so much harder sticking with that. Do not disconnect. So got the wrong ones, maybe. I'm just trying to avoid having to do anything silly with, you know, deleting all the lasers, because I don't need them, but so they would kick into it. Isn't there another one? So one? Oh, this one. So that saved us hopefully a little bit of power. Particularly because there's a whole load of beacons and stuff over there as well. So let's see if that's lit. Bang. There we go. Brown out time. Ah, dear. Oh. I have no idea why MooBot has kicked it out. In fact, I thought I'd turned it off. It's basically useless. I'm not a big fan of that. Somebody do a... I have no idea why that's... put that link and stuff in, because it's meant to only do it when there's like a command to do it. But nobody's done that. You can sit below assemblers in power consumption. Really? Have you only got... Are you... Is that 8 beacons then? Or... So there's... I mean, there's 63,000 beacons. And, you know, because it's 480 kilowatts each, it's approximately half that as the power. And as you can see, we're still browning out. That's just nuts. When I did this last night, I added 20 columns, solar panels in. And I remember thinking to myself, is that going to be enough? Should I just keep going and put in, you know, 30 columns sort of thing? Because it would be silly to do this, excuse me, and then find that it didn't actually run the base properly. And that's where we've ended up. Okay. What else might I be able to shut off? I mean, I guess... Wait, do I need anything on the bus anymore? But then disabling that is just going to be a bit of a nightmare. So assemblers, I mean, if I was running both military as well... In fact, that's actually... We could turn that off, couldn't we? If I'm not going to do any military, we might as well just turn that off. That's probably easier to disconnect. Because if we cut the lines there... 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 Then we isolate military. And we're right here. What was I going to do? I was going to switch out... Oh, I think I'll just run it. Sorry, Spider, you've been great, but... How many to do? A couple of 3 rows, maybe. No, a bit more than that. Let's do... I could switch all of them over. It doesn't stop it supplying them. It's just it stops it grabbing as many as it was at once. Some of them. Okay. Am I running out? What's that? Right, there we go. Let's put some legs on and cilia. Right, so where do I need to cut the power? If I cut the power here. In fact, why is that even connected there? Oh, it's the robot port. Oh. Chop this off here because we're not going to do any more military. That's taken that bit out. And if we slice the line here, here, chops that out. What I assume was happening with the power? Something more along the lines of, because my ratios are off a bit, I probably got slightly too many accumulators and they were just slowly, for every day cycle, whoops, it was probably draining them out slightly more and more, so I didn't notice. Right, so if we cut the power here, that should disconnect military. Because the trains will all just come back and sit here doing nothing. Ooh. Cool. Let's see if that gets us. Gets us enough power to run all day. I said before, I mean, this is actually the thing one of the things I enjoy the most about the game. Like, it's because it's actually like bug fixing. If you've ever done software development, it's kind of like that, and I enjoy that process quite a lot. But it's a shame I've sort of arrived. Here we go. So this was, I presume that's me turning off the military. That seems quite close there. With still 1.1. Oh no, they're less than a gigawatt now. Yeah, it's like bug fixing in software development. I say, it's sort of just a shame that I've arrived at this point where I want to move on properly in it. Does this fully charge? I guess is the other question. Can we close one? 6, 7. No, so it didn't fully charge, did it? Started to decline. Because ideally we want it. I suppose it doesn't matter in a sense. It's the max, but I don't think I've saved enough power there. Or maybe I have, because that's what's going on there. Oh, that must be it. That's it. Oh, okay. We should be okay then. I think. Because that means they got all charged and it had some spare power. I think. Fingers crossed. Right, let's have a look at these again. Yeah, so still not getting iron plate all the way down the bottom. Has it changed? Yeah, I don't know why it does this. Got to be something to do with it, how it's loading into the... That was the brownout, presumably. Right, let's have a look at instantaneous numbers. sort of... It's a bit confusing, isn't it? Right. Ah, so that's now down at 4.9, although that's going to be averaging out a lower, the bit where it had the brown out. It's the two problem children again, isn't it? The two problem children. Rod science. Chemical science. So we know what's wrong with prod science is that these should be unloading both sides, but aren't. So we're not getting quite enough iron plate flowing through. These should be fully stacked veins. They're not. So there'll be some dropouts, one would assume. Saying that, that's all backed up, but it's probably backed up because of that drop during the brown out. Why are you not running? Yeah, you're still not getting these. Why is that not stuff? All of those are running. So it may be fundamentally flawed, that then. Same here. The iron is just not getting to the end. Oh well. When designing my production science array, yeah, it's I mean, there are other approaches where you just do it more modular, and obviously bot-based builds are sort of a bit easier. As I probably wouldn't go 12 beacon again, because obviously the advantage of 12 is that it speeds them up to a degree that you need a lot less machines. But it swaps, space, etc. for power. And that's, as you said, I mean, all of this is not running my site. It's not running the base. Or all of the base. It's just insane. And so I'm not pretending it's efficient or anything. A lot of problems. But the steel is insane. It's just absolutely bonkers. If you want to do, so and I say that's what I would probably do is like a mixed. So I would probably 12 beacon steel. I mean, what I would actually. So when I never really explained this. So, so I think you're new to Grim. I don't know, but if I have rattled on about this before, just stop me. But the idea was that local smelting for iron and copper, and so I would train in smelted plates basically. Similarly with stone brick. So stone brick, iron plate and copper plate are coming in. And then obviously coal is coming in as coal. Oil, where I've been using oil, but I've tended to prefer coal liquefaction. And stone, stone is coming in. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And then everything else is made in the correct ratios and amounts for the amount of science that's being produced. As you see, it's not quite working. Each build is meant to... So I did it all with the Factorio lab calculator, but each build is meant to produce about 5,300. but because of inefficiencies in, I'd have to get into much more into the weeds of setting stack sizes and being just better at Factorio fundamentally, in order to, get some of these to work properly. So the ones that have proven the most difficult are prod science and chemical science. Chemical science because I did it early on and I've made some fundamental errors. And as you see, it looks like I'm not supplying enough iron plate to run all of the smelters, so there's some of these not running properly. And also I suspect there's not quite enough red circuits, so they're effectively vacillating between not enough engines, not enough red circuits, not enough engines, not enough red circuits. So, if there was slightly more steel, and slightly more red circuits, it will probably run. So, every time I'm using, I know a lot of, when people do megabasing, they'll have a build that is, blue circuits, red circuits, green circuits, and train those in. And that is probably the better way to do it. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do everything is built locally, except those sort of more very raw ingredients. But what I then did is say and that I think it would work. It would have been a lot easier and better, and I'd probably continue the series more if I'd used local patches more and not done a ridiculous amount of outposting, because I'd have more energy, more interest in reworking a lot of these. But it's basically it's a 484 train system, so each train does have an enormous amount of material on it, in order to try and avoid so there's always a load of stuff in a load of chests, and these trains drop off a load of material. So it's a way of because I'm not moving, because you get packing density basically. So green circuits stack to like 200 each, don't they? And so that's like a load of material compressed down into a smaller space. But I've always found those builds a bit frustrating because you have to load an extraordinary amount of green circuits onto a train in order to, even get the thing running. And I prefer belts in a sense, and local moving, but it's given me a lot of headaches around getting stuff in, basically. So I would probably go down more a route of, making, say, green circuits, at a centralised factory, and getting the sort of economies of scales and efficiency and those sorts of things out of that. Where I would draw the line, I'm not sure. But, we're getting, and say I would do less 12 beacons. I've sort of stuck religiously to 12 beacons because I'm an obstinate person and I've just wanted to do 12 all the time, and it's been such a problem to provide the power for that, and particularly things like green circuits. As I understand it, I may have got the wrong end of the stick here, but 8 beacons actually basically produces the same as 12 beacons, because when you get 12 beacons on a green circuit machine, it's sort of so fast that you can't really keep it fed, particularly since with 12 beacons you can't do any direct insertion. And I was saying before, I could do in theory is have a chain of I guess chests, so we can have a chest there, chest there, chest there, and like feed them across. But that didn't occur to me until a lot later on. So I've tried to move the stuff by belt, and it doesn't quite work in a lot of cases. And I say particularly this is such a problem because there's this stupid 30 bits of rail that why the heck they put it at that? That's a ridiculous amount of rail that's needed, and there's no way to supply it on a single belt, not to multiple machines. So you'd have to do a single belt each. Yeah, so that's then used up an awful lot of space and real estate to get everything else in. So this abomination here is me compensating for the fact that I've got no room. And it's clearly not working properly because, I mean, there should be more balancing going on here, I think, basically. Because if you look, we've got this here is completely stacked with smelters, and then these haven't got any on. There's obviously something wrong somewhere. And a lot of it's because I'm not doing the same belting, I think. Yeah, so these are underneath, so they'll be operating. You get weird effects where inserters don't work quite the same way in different positions. And yeah, so I had to feed in an awful lot of stuff to these, and I didn't have any room to do it, so that's probably why it's ended up slower. My red, green, blue, and grey science designs all kick out 2 full belts. 8 beacon, just need to feed them. Yeah, so you know, a lot of them I would go 8 beacons because it's just opens up a lot more options for feeding things in, and you know, direct insertion in particular, using chests more sensibly. And all you're doing is, you know, you just add a few more machines. It's not that, it doesn't save you that many going 12, but it does cost you an enormous amount of power. But you know, lessons learned. That's the whole point of this series, really. It's to see if things would work, and some of them do, and some of them don't. And I have got 5,000. You know. Fairly consistently, assuming the power's not still browning out. You know, I say I don't know what I've done wrong with the insertion on the science lab. Okay, maybe I've got 4.9. Yeah, these problem children. Yeah, it's dipped below 5 now, isn't it? Oh well. I mean, that's why I mean, when I was designing these, I used the creative mod to sort of build them. I have found that things haven't quite translated over the same. And I say, I don't know if that's... I think probably the sort of way to account for that is because obviously you use the spawners to just fill belts. And then you're working on the assumption that you're going to provide fill in the eventual build. But things like this, if I'd built it all properly, you know, in creative mode, it would have been more apparent that that wasn't quite, I made that mistake, as it were. But then, of course, you know, if you're building everything in creative mode, what's the point in playing in normal mode, I guess? So yeah, I normally stream 3 till 6, basically, weekends. So we're coming up to end of the stream. I will be back next week with more Factorio. The Factorio isn't going to end on the channel, but we'll do a post-mortem. I mean, that's kind of what we've done today, but we'll do a post-mortem because I'm happy that, you know, I've basically got what I wanted. I always wanted more than 4,000. Was my, like, if it's above that, fine. And, you know, I could fix some of these, but as I say, it would probably mean having to wait. Well, some of them would probably need redesigns, so I'm not going to do that. But little tweaks, like this one, where I should really just feed in more lanes of iron, so it gets up the top here, or maybe just take some around the side and chuck it in. You know, could do that, but in order for it to be like work properly, I'd have to turn all sites off, wait for it to slow down, get up to 60, because I find it very difficult to play at this sort of view. But yeah, so we'll do a sort of a post-mortem on the series. Oh, thank you for the fire, Grim Reader. Grim. We'll do a post-mortem on this series. I'll point out some of the things. I'll have a think about the things that I did wrong. It won't take long, and it'll be a lot of the same stuff, really. I'll go through that, and then I'll start on attempting to do the no spoon run, and probably mostly spend the episode or the stream trying to find a good map, because I don't want to use, because obviously you can just download blueprints and use a seed, but I'll B6. Oh, how many science per minute? So if you're generous, call it 5,000 science per minute. There are 2 chemical and production centers which aren't really working at that speed. They're sort of, was it 4.9-ish or something? There you go. So production can keep up with that, but production is sort of dipping below 5,000, and chemical goes up and down, it seems like, because there's some issues with supply, basically. The chemical one would be fixable. Prod science would probably need a bit of a redesign. But yeah, so it's about 5. This is my first ever attempt at doing this type of scale. So that's why it's not so good, because I'm not like, Elsie's done dozens of them, and he knows all the sorts of issues that arise. I created loads of problems for myself. And have learnt, those are lessons learned. So next stream, next week, next Saturday, I'll pick up and basically run through those, talk about some of those, and the things I've learned. Eventually, maybe some way down the future, I'll do another series where I try to do a Megabase again, and I pick all those lessons up, and hopefully it won't take whatever it was, 73 streams. And is it just time for playtime? Yeah, so this whole map has been running for 26 days, 10 hours and 19 minutes. Some people have played the entire game, for less than that. But then we'll start on a no spoon run. So I'll do something completely different, see if I can learn how to play quickly-ish. And we'll do that for a few weeks instead of this. I'm also keen, as I say, to try Factorio again or something like that. So yeah, so I'll say Factorio back again Saturday and Sunday. I will be back tomorrow though with Dyson Sphere program. The series is going really well. We are about to unlock interplanetary logistics, so the game proper really starts from now. And that'll give me the opportunity to really learn blueprints in that game. Then Friday I'll be back again with Satisfactory. Now that this series I am considering done, I'm not spending every waking hour playing it. I'm going to be spending a lot of time on my Satisfactory base in my personal time, and particularly doing like cosmetics and stuff like that, because I really enjoy the base building side of that game. And they've just given us update 5 with loads of tools for, making things look nice and look like proper factories, which is what I'm really interested in. So I'm going to sort of switch my personal time over to that. So for everyone who's been joining me, it's time of the stream. So basically, it's 3 till 6 UK time. We've just, I don't know if you are in the UK, sorry, but we've obviously just switched back to GMT from BST. So I haven't actually checked on I assume it does, but the schedule on the page, I'll update that so that it is correct if it's not correct. But yeah, it's 3 p.m. BST, 3 p.m. GMT to 6 p.m. GMT on Saturdays and Sundays for Factorio. Sometimes run a bit long. Maybe I'll start doing 4 hours again, but 3 hours kind of works really well for me on a weekend. The Friday and Friday and Monday streams are just 2 hours. Dyson Sphere Program Monday is after work, so it starts 5-ish. And on Friday is the same time, 3 till 5, basically. Yes, so if you have been joining me for today and listening to me moan about all the stuff, then thank you very much. And hopefully you come back for another one. I hope you all have a good week, and maybe I'll catch you in another one. I suppose the other thing, just to mention, I do have a YouTube channel. If you wanted to catch up with any of the series or just skip into little episodes, there's a YouTube channel, Actors Magicians, with all the VODs on it, just raw VODs to skim through. Yeah, thanks for watching. Cheers.